Hello and welcome to another episode of Snakes Territory, part of the Foul Territory Network. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, maybe leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. I am Jesse Friedman alongside Jack Sommers. And Jack, I know the Diamondbacks were only on the road for 6 days, but it felt like a whole lot longer than that. Diamondbacks take 2 out of 3 in Atlanta to start things out. This series against the Boston Red Sox was eventful to say the least, but that just made it all the more important, Jack, that the Diamondbacks come up with a win in the finale of the series, and they were able to do exactly that.
Heading into the road trip, I said that I would be more than happy with a 3-3 road trip in those two cities, win a series, lose a series. And that's exactly what happened. And so I'll stick with satisfaction that was the end result, even though the last few days were a little bit complicated.
I think we can call it a successful road trip, right, Jack? It was a success. We can just move on as if nothing else happened. Yeah,
Right.
maybe
Show's
not
over.
quite. Yeah. Nothing else to discuss. D-backs, they get a win in this game on Wednesday, and people after the game were very open and honest about just how big of a game this was for the team. Brandon Pfaadt mentioned that in his post-game interview, talked about how it was very clear to everyone in the room that this was really, really important for the Diamondbacks to win, not only because you never want to get swept in any series, but because of the circumstances of the last couple of days, how flat the Diamondbacks looked in the first couple of games of the series. And this was an all hands on deck sort of ordeal for the Diamondbacks. Torey Lovullo emptied his bench in what was ultimately a 10-inning game. Jordan Lawler originally hit seventh in this game and played center field, and his spot in the lineup was replaced 3 times over the course of this game. So Torey Lovullo was truly using every player that he had at his disposal, and it was a close one, Jack. This was not exactly a free and easy downhill baseball sort of win. Diamondbacks trailed early on, a couple of early homers against Brandon Pfaadt. They were down 2-0. They took a 3-2 lead, which grew to a 5-2 lead. And then Mickey Gasper did what Mickey Gasper does against the Diamondbacks, tied the game. D-backs ultimately come away with a 7-6 win.
Yeah, a lot of fantastic individual performances, people stepping up into the situation and helping get things done, which was really impressive. I mean, look, this was a gritty win. This is not the formula for long-term success to have to win a game in this manner, in this fashion. But you look at some of the things that happen. Of course, there's Gabriel Moreno once again, just delivering. I mean, he's just become a monster this year. A 2-run double off the wall. He's the one that put them in the game yesterday with the grand slam. And then you had a RBI double from Ryan Waldschmidt. So that gave them a lead. And then of course you come back and you score a couple more runs. The game's 5-2. You think you've got this. And then unfortunately Brandon Pfaadt got nicked up. And he just had a really strange line, right? I mean, 8 strikeouts, no walks. He looked like he had a really good sweeper. He gave up a couple of early solo home runs, and then he kind of looked like, okay, this is it. He's not going to really give up anything else. And then he got nailed in the 6th inning there and gave up the 3-run homer that gave up the tie. But they hung in there and they came through and they won this game. And Jose Fernandez, I mean, like for me, that's what stood out the most in long-term thinking, right? In the short term, there were other things. Nolan Arenado had the go-ahead base hit,
Which I
and there
believe
were.
was 51 miles per hour off the bat, if
Oh, he
memory
blasted
serves.
it. It's a little blooper. Oh,
Yeah. Gonzo was in the booth
homage
after
correct.
all. It was only fitting, right?
Right. But I mean, look, Jose Fernandez. I mean, he hit a gapper and hustled in the second base for a hustle double. Then he banged one off that wall deep and high off that green monster over in left center field. And then, most impressive to me, as I tweeted out, I would have loved to have seen, just like anybody else, another double off the wall, and score at least 2 runs there. But thinking about his improvement and development as a player, fouling off a couple of tough pitches, taking a couple of tough pitches, and working a bases loaded walk to give them an insurance run, which ultimately they truly needed. It was the most impressive thing to me, uh, I guess, developmental wise, long term wise, because I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot of Jose Fernandez over the final 6 weeks of the season.
You and I had some discussions offline about the decision to bring Fernandez to the majors, and we were looking at his numbers down in AAA. And frankly, I kind of made the point like we don't see the Diamondbacks call up guys from AAA very often who have an 85 WRC plus. You're talking about a guy who's been a fairly far below average hitter at AAA. And yet Jose Fernandez, I mean, we saw glimpses of it early in the season. The tools are absolutely there. He has a great arm. He has elite level bat speed. He has elite level sprint speed. There's a lot to like about his game, and there are things that he is capable of doing that a lot of players on this team are not. And we were able to see the best part of him in this game. As you said, a couple of hard hit balls, that key at bat in the 10th inning was enormous as well. So he's one of the guys who absolutely could step in and maybe play a big role as things continue to be in flux with Ketel Marte. Another player that probably deserves some shine offensively is Lars Nootbaar. You mentioned earlier the D-backs tacking on a couple of important runs. That was because Lars Nootbaar hit a pinch hit 2-run home run. It was not a cheap shot. It was 110 miles per hour off the bat. And man, especially if Ketel Marte is not going to be in the equation, or even if he is, the D-backs really need Lars Nootbaar to get going offensively. His OPS for the team, I think, still starts with a 5. There's a ways to go there, but it was really good to see that swing from him.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, look, the players and the coaches have to proceed as if this is it. They're going to have to find their way on their own without Ketel Marte. Now, if he comes back and all fences are mended and he plays well and all those, I guess, fairy tale thoughts, then great. But I think already there's a sense of reality that is set in that they have to just tune it out. They need to completely tune out all the noise and just proceed as if he had a season-ending injury or something, which happens all the time in baseball. And they have to believe in themselves that they can go forward and do this and still make the postseason, even without Ketel Marte. And so, from that standpoint, getting the bad taste of the previous 2 beatdowns, no other way to put that, and then also being able to get on a plane, fly back to Phoenix, and they have to gird themselves up. I mean, they know that everyone's going to be crawling all over Chase Field. The media is going to be crawling all over the clubhouse and the press conferences, and there's going to be a lot of questions asked. And they've got to find a way to just tune all that out and go and do their jobs.
Torey Lovello was asked after the game about uh, just how big of a win this was for the team, and I thought his comments there were telling. He said, "The conga line at the end of this game was a special moment for me that I'll never forget." He talked about how, given the venue, given the opponent, and the circumstances of the last couple of days, I mean, those are big words from Torey Lovello. A moment he'll never forget in a managerial career that spans about a decade at this point, a coaching career that goes well beyond that. I mean, this win seemed to have a lot of significance for this team. And Torey was also asked about, like, can you guys win without Ketel Marte? You did today, but like what is this going to look like moving forward? And Torrey gave the answer you'd probably expect. He said, "We're going to be fine no matter who's in the lineup. We've got 26 engaged dogs out there that want to win a baseball game, and that's all I care about." And one thing that I will say about Torey Lovello, even though I know there's all sorts of, he's a polarizing subject to say the least right now, but I think that Torey Lovello has the ability to help the Diamondbacks focus on the things that really matter right now. I think that that is one of his strengths. It's something that we've learned about him as a manager over the years is that I think he helps players to be the best versions of themselves and to put those sorts of distractions aside, particularly a really messy situation like this one. So I mean, we'll see. I'm not going to say that certainly the Diamondbacks have a lot to prove here over the next 5 or 6 weeks of how they respond to this and what this is going to look like. Maybe Ketel Marte does return at some point here, but I think Torey Lovello is probably going to help these guys stay on track and focus on what really matters right now.
Well, as we often say, momentum is the next day's starter,
Yeah,
right? And, that's all it'll take is a good start, by the Red starter on Friday night. If he shuts down the offense and they're quiet, oh, they're flat. They're out of it. And, if they press a little bit and make a couple of defensive errors, oh, their heads are not in the game and, all of that. So I think that clearly, they were impacted mentally and emotionally by everything that was going on around them the first two games of this series. They were also impacted by the fact that their starting pitchers got blown out of the water right out
yeah.
of, very early in their starts. Um, but they went down early today too. I mean, the first pitch of the game was a solo home run, and then there was another home run, and they were down 2-0. But they fought back today, and I think they just showed themselves like, okay, this is what we're going to have to do here. So, how far they can go without Ketel Marte, without 21 homers and 67 RBIs and a 760 OPS in the middle of their lineup is a good question. I mean, they're going to need a lot of different people to step up. And they got that today. They're going to need a lot more of it.
Couple final notes from this game from me. Jonathan Loizaga was big out of the Diamondbacks bullpen tonight. He got 6 outs on 16 pitches in the ninth and 10th innings. He did technically give up a run, but it was unearned. It was just the ghost runner there in the 10th inning that didn't wind up being meaningful. Good day for the Diamondbacks bullpen on the whole. And then Ildemar Vargas also made a really nice defensive play to start out that 10th inning and just kind of set the tone there. It felt like the Red Sox just kind of rolled over. I guess literally, they rolled over the next couple of pitches from Jonathan Loizaga, and that was the end of the game. So just a really nice complete win for the Diamondbacks, something that was very sorely needed. Brandon fought a weird game from him. He also had 17 whiffs though, for the first time since 2024. His stuff looked really sharp for I felt like most of the game, and yet he also threw a few pitches that got hit kind of hard. Very bizarre. He had not allowed a single home run since returning from AAA, and then he gives up 3 home runs in one game in Boston. I guess that's baseball, Jack. That's just the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, XFIP will eventually win out, right?
Yeah, I think
For
that's fair.
anybody that doesn't know what that joke was, XFIP is fielding independent pitching, the expected fielding independent pitching, where home runs are uh, basically adjusted to the average home run per fly ball rate. So if you give up a lot of fly ball outs, your XFIP is maybe going to be higher than your FIP if you haven't been giving up that many home runs. A lot of deep fly balls. Your FIP might look good because they're all getting caught, but XFIP says, yeah, well, you might be getting a little lucky here on some of those homers, and so maybe a couple of them should be getting over the wall. So that's what that joke was about for anyone not familiar with it. But you can always go to Fangraphs and go to their glossary and look up their pitching stats and look up FIP and XFIP. Always suggest that.
Well, on that note, Brandon Fott's xFIP for today's start was 2.67. So, as you're saying, xFIP views this start very favorably. Some of the other metrics, not quite so much. But Brandon Fott gave the Diamondbacks at least enough to get out of this game with a win. And considering how good he's been since coming back from AAA, it felt like it was time for the team to kind of pick him up after all of the times that he's picked them up here over the past few weeks.
You're making me look it up now because I need to see what it is year to date.
It's
Yeah,
4.25. His xFIP is
right,
4.25. His ERA is 3.39. His FIP is 3.99.
right.
So his xFIP is actually still it's higher than all of the other ERA estimators. So you could argue that Fott has still been on the luckier side when it comes to preventing home runs, but pretty close to what you'd expect.
Yeah, I mean, it's more or less normalized, neutralized, regressed to the mean.
There you go. But we have a whole lot more to get to in this episode. We're going to check on the standings. We, of course, are going to dive into the Ketel Marte situation and the updates we've gotten since our last episode. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back on Snakes territory right after this.
Hey, for those of you that are on your phones very often, or even if you don't use it much, you should check out your wireless bill and make sure that it is treating you well. It's summertime, you're feeling good, right, AJ? But are you spending too much on your wireless bill, and should Mint Mobile get involved?
As someone that has two college-age kids, Scott, they're always on their phone, whether it's they're checking their Snap, they're checking their DMs, they're checking their Twitter. I need $15 a month because I need unlimited quality coverage that Mint Mobile provides.
To get that new wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/territory. That's mintmobile.com/territory. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/territory. That's it. No catch. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. Includes up to 20 gigabyte hotspot. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com.
We are back here on Snakes territory. Really appreciate all of you being here with us. If you haven't already, it really helps us out if you would subscribe to our channel on YouTube, drop a like on this video, hit the bell icon for notifications so that you never miss an episode of the show. And if you're joining us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, it also really helps us out if you'd leave us a 5-star review over there. Many of you have done this in recent days, and we see your reviews, and we really, really appreciate you doing that. So thank you to all of you for supporting the show. Really means a lot to us that you spend as much time here with us on Snakes territory as you do. Well, Jack, the Ketel Marte situation continues to develop. I guess we'll start with this note from not this note from John Morosi over on Twitter. Morosi tweeted out earlier on Wednesday, this was Wednesday morning, a note from Ketel Marte's agent, and it reads as follows. He is currently managing a personal matter and will be undergoing an MRI on his knee tomorrow. Ketel appreciates the unwavering support from fans, teammates, the Diamondbacks organization, and Torey Lovello during this time. He remains optimistic about his recovery and looks forward to returning to the field to contribute to the team as soon as possible. My guess is most of you watching or listening have probably already seen or heard this note from Marte's agent. But yeah, we'll start our conversation there. Jack, what was your reaction to seeing this?
Well, I mean, it very much looked like agent speak, right? It looked like damage control. It also looked to me like maybe somebody kind of finally got through to him and got him to kind of step back from the ledge a little bit with all of this. Look, that statement doesn't tell us anything, right? And Mike Hazen was on the radio today, and we didn't really learn very much new. And so all we're left to do is either speculate and wait, or keep our mouths shut and wait. But I have thoughts just like everybody else. I have been trying to gather information and do as much due diligence as I can. We've had a friend of the show, El Gallo, kind of nudge me in a direction of looking a little closer into what's been coming out of the Dominican Republic and the reports there. And there are credible journalists that have reported that Marte wanted to be released or wanted to be DFA'd. But it's hard to say, like, did something get lost in translation there? And that's not going to happen. I mean, the Diamondbacks aren't going to do that. So it just didn't seem like a very realistic report from that perspective. But then there's some other radio reports where there's, people claiming to have inside sources with his family. saying that he doesn't want to play for the Diamondbacks anymore, and the falling out between him and Torrey is, and not navigable, and so forth. Who knows, right? I mean, like, I can't say that any of that's true, but I'm acknowledging it because it's out there, and I'm sure that at least half our listeners have heard some of this kind of, trickling around if you're active in social media. What I will say, and I'm going to ask Jesse to put that on the screen, is Torey Lovullo's willingness to work very closely with Ketel Marte on days off and being in tune with his body was a key reason why he agreed to the extension that he did. So on April 2nd of 2025, Ketel Marte signed over $100 million contract extension that takes him up to 2031 if he exercises the player option. A big chunk of that, $46 million, is deferred. So, why did Ketel sign that contract? It's considered team friendly at the time. When asked, this is from the report that Steve Gilbert filed on that day of the signing. When asked what he liked so much about Arizona, Marte cited the coaching staff, the medical staff, and the organization in general. He also talked about his close relationship with manager Torey Lovullo, whose first year managing the D-backs was 2017. Now, here comes the exact quote from Ketel, and let you know exactly what his priorities were. This was the main answer that he gave when he was asked, why did you sign this extension? We came to the organization around the same time, said Marte. I feel like at this point that Torey understands me really well physically. If I need a day off, I don't have to talk much. Torey does a good job of feeling that and giving me a day. I don't want to lose what I've earned with Torey so far. So, that's the player right there, very clearly spelling out his motivations at the time of the extension. Now, obviously, since then, there have been other incidents. There was the incident last year at the All-Star break, and then this year, of course, this week, over not showing up to the ballpark. Now, what happened in that initial contact between Torrey and Ketel? One can only speculate, but the speculation leads me down a path of thinking that Torrey pushed Ketel to play because Nolan was hurt and he really needed him, and Ketel didn't want to play because his knee was bothering him. And Torrey pushed on him pretty hard and got exactly the kind of response that we probably would expect in this situation where you tend to lose a player like this. So I'm kind of out there on a limb speculating on a lot of stuff I don't know. At the end of the day, Mike Hazen is going to meet with Ketel Marte sometime tomorrow after his MRI. One other key point from what Mike said today was that Ketel was flying back today and having the MRI tomorrow, or flying back tomorrow to have the MRI tomorrow. And, so where's he been, right? Did he leave Boston, not go back to Phoenix right away? And he's just coming back to Phoenix now? If that's the case, maybe he flew down to the Dominican Republic. Who knows, where he went. But either the team knows and they're not saying, which means that he would have probably went to the Dominican and they didn't want to have the story out there that, Ketel flew back to the Dominican Republic again. Or they really don't know where he's at. Remember last year, they weren't the organization was not that forthcoming with all of this logistics until it kind of came out little by little. We had to pulling teeth to get it. So we'll see what all comes out here. But I think there's a fairly deep, significant rift here. And from reading that, I know I've been going on a long time here, but from reading that statement, it just looks to me like somebody's pulling Ketel back in from the ledge and saying, hey, get back to Phoenix, go sit down and talk to Mike. You guys got to work this out. Because he's not getting DFA'd.
No.
What will happen is if he doesn't play again, one of two things are going to happen. He's going to be on the restricted list or suspended for the rest of the season without pay. Or if he really does have a knee injury, they'll just put him on a 60-day IL and, or put him on the injured list, and that's it for the rest of the season.
It is striking to look back at that quote that Ketel gave when he signed the extension. and see just how clearly that was a big part of the deal for him was his relationship with Torey Lovullo, the fact that Torey Lovullo is willing to give him days off when he says he doesn't have to talk much, right? Like there seems to be just a lot of unspoken communication, I guess, between him and Torey Lovullo, where Torey just gets him and is willing to give him those days when he asks for them. Or I guess even when maybe he doesn't ask for them and Torey maybe gets out in front of that from time to time. And even at the time, Jack, I mean, I remember a few years ago when that happened, and it was a little bit puzzling at the time. The Diamondbacks did not need to extend Ketel Marte then. They already had him under club control through 2028 on one of the most team friendly contracts in all of baseball. And I don't remember thinking that the contract was way too big, or I mean it wasn't completely unreasonable. It's still a relatively team friendly deal, or at least it looked like it at the time, but it was just unnecessary. It was like, well, why are you extending this player, from 2029 to 2031 when he's going to be in his mid 30s, and you just don't really know what to expect? Then very possibly he's going to be a designated hitter at that point, and that just adds another layer to this complicated relationship between him and the organization. Did the Diamondbacks feel they needed to do that in order to maintain that rapport with Ketel Marte? I don't know. But looking
Well,
back at it
knowing
and
what
reading
we
those
know about him
quotes,
now, knowing what
yeah,
we know about him now, I mean, considering how well he produced in 24, it's not hard to imagine him being very dissatisfied with his contract and how that may play out, on the field.
yeah, that's fair. Mike Hazen, in his interview that you referenced earlier, he said that he was hopeful that Ketel Marte will play again in 2026. He said, "I'm going to say I'm hopeful," when asked that question. But the fact that Mike is speaking in those terms, uh, I think really in and of itself speaks to just how little clarity there is on this right now. That Ketel Marte, he might have played his last game as a member of the Diamondbacks. Like, I don't think I was thinking in those terms when we were talking about this a couple days ago. I'm kind of thinking in those terms now.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. I mean, it, he's going to have to find a way to fix this, right? I mean, Cattell has to fix this. He's the one that didn't show up for work, and if it really was about your knee, you go into the ballpark and you go get treatment on your knee. You don't just say, "I'm not coming." Now, there's all the, he's dealing with personal issues. Well, again, I'll go back to what I said on Monday night. Got to communicate.
Yeah.
You got to communicate what that is to the team and convince them that this personal issue is going to preclude you from being able to do your job for a little bit. And I'm sure that if he'd done that, they would be as empathetic as possible and understanding as possible. But,
Yeah.
that communication wasn't forthcoming. And so, here we are.
The Diamondbacks have a lot of questions to answer about Ketel Marte. I imagine they're going to have to give answers to a lot of these questions. Like at some point, I think we're going to find out like where Ketel Marte is right now, where he's been the last couple of days. I can't really imagine this story playing out and us not getting answers to those questions eventually. But yeah, Mike Hazen did not reveal a whole lot in his interview today. Torey Lovullo has not revealed a whole lot either. And he's gonna have an MRI tomorrow, Jack, and I guess we'll see. It's hard to know how much this knee injury, the potential of a knee injury, was really a factor here. Is that like a separate issue from what happened the other day? It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to not show up to work due to an injury, because like that's where you get treatment for that injury. So it's all a very puzzling situation, and yeah, if you're Torey Lovullo, if you're Mike Hazen, if you're any player on this team right now, you're having to answer a whole lot of uncomfortable questions.
Right. Okay. Well, said my piece, and I'm going to have to say more because this story isn't over.
Yeah.
Just the only on a personal note, and this certainly isn't about me, but this is bumming me out. It just is bumming. The whole thing, it's just a bummer. I mean, I want them all to play well. I want them all to be happy and healthy. And I hate to see the players and coaches go through this. I hate to see the fans go through this. I hate to see all the rancor and discord and toxicity revolving around this and people attacking each other over it. This whole thing is a real bummer. I've been feeling pretty sad about the whole thing just for all of those reasons.
I don't think you're alone in that. Certainly, the vibes around the Arizona Diamondbacks organization have not been fantastic, to say the least, over the past 48 hours. We have more to get to in this episode beyond the Ketel Marte situation. We're going to talk a little bit about the first couple games of this series, really about Merrill Kelly and kind of his status right now as he continues to struggle. And we'll look ahead to the weekend series against the Cincinnati Reds. Eugenio Suarez returning to the desert, which should be fun. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this here on Snakes Territory.
We have poppin' colors for Mack Weldon here. I've got a little green shade. You've got a nice blue shade. And what else do you love about Mack Weldon, Kratz?
I can be head to toe with Mack Weldon. I have the underwear, I have the shorts, I have the pants, I have the socks. Obviously, we got the shirt and the jackets, but it's head to toe comfort, no matter what piece they send. I even have a belt that looks sick.
And make sure you check out Mack Weldon's AirKnit X fabric to help you out. Their lightest fabric fused with nylon mesh for maximum airflow. Skip the midday wardrobe changes. The barely there feel also keeps you feeling more dry and more fresh. You can browse that collection at mackweldon.com. Don't sweat the heat this summer. Feel as effortlessly cool as you look with Mack Weldon. Go to mackweldon.com and get 20% off your first order of $125 or more with promo code FOUL. That's mackweldon.com, code FOUL.
Well, Jack, Merrill Kelly was not exactly at the top of his game on Tuesday, unfortunately. 4+ innings from him, 7 hits, 6 runs, 4 walks, and 2 strikeouts. He threw 86 pitches. Not a whole lot of hard contact against him. Only 4 hard hit balls out of 17. The average exit velo against him was only 84 miles per hour. So there were kind of a lot of dinks and dunks that did drop in for hits. At the same time, the walk numbers just continue to be too high, and he has not been a reliable starting pitcher for the Diamondbacks here in 2026.
Yeah, you tweeted something out about his zone percentages the other day, and it's really distressing to look at just how bad that's been over his last, I don't know, however many starts. And you can just see it developing early in the starts. Arm side miss, boom, boom, boom. Here we go. Nibble, nibble, nibble. Here we go. And it's just, he's as frustrated and bummed out about it as anybody. And he talked about that after his start. I mean, he has a calendar. It's August 18th when he's putting up that outing. He's had plenty of time to figure out his season, and it looked like he did in July, but he's just gone right back to unreliable Merrill. I mean, we went from Merrill the mainstay to Merrill stay home, in way too short a period of time here. 2-year, $40 million deal. I have people text me and saying, so are the Diamondbacks ever going to let him throw enough innings next year to vest that option for 28?
Yeah.
With 170 innings, if he throws next year, then he's vested for 28. So, I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's just the whole thing. If you look at Zach's, innings pitched in ERA, you look at Merrill's innings pitched in ERA, and you smush those two together and see what that looks like, for the amount of money that you're spending. It's amazing that they've managed to piece it together. But now, you have Mitch Bratt, who was not able to follow up as good outing, and find some consistency. You have Merrill, who you can't depend on. So, you have 3 guys in your rotation that you can depend on. And one of them, oh, by the way, just gave up 5 runs. So, it's going to be tough. I mean, they're going to be I saw another report on Corbin Burns is expected back, the first week of September. How? Has he even thrown a
Yeah.
live hitters yet?
Yeah, I that still remains baffling to me too.
I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I mean, or if he is, like, it's gonna be a disaster. If he's thrown to live hitters, that just happened. I didn't get the updates on that. Okay, but, as of less than a week ago, he was still just throwing bullpens and had not thrown the live hitters. So maybe in the last few days, he threw the live hitters. Maybe after live hitters, he can go throw a game, in the bridge camp. But, I mean, there's just the calendar doesn't permit Corbin Burns to be out on the mound the first week of September as anything other than a relief pitcher.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're talking about a viable starting pitcher that you can at least send out for his first outing to give you 4 innings, that's got to be mid-September at the earliest. Just looking at the calendar, I don't know how he gets there. But we'll see. I could be wrong.
Circling back to Merrill real quick, you mentioned the tweet I put out on his zone percentages. I'll throw that on the screen real quick.
Yeah.
Merrill last season threw about 48% of his pitches in the strike zone. League average is right around there at 48% as well. You look at that number in his start on Tuesday, it was 38%, 39% in his start before that, 40% in his start before that, and then about 36 and a half back on August 2nd. So, yeah, maybe the stuff is diminished in some way. It doesn't look like the stuff is all that different from at least the public facing information we have. But yeah, he just needs to be able to throw the ball in the strike zone more often. And I don't know if it's nibbling necessarily. Like, I think he wants to throw the ball in the zone, and at least that's what it feels like to me, and he just is not able to. And that's why you're seeing all of these arm misses, these arm side misses over and over again. Those are just misfires, whereas mechanics are not working the way that they should. I'm not sure this is Merrill Kelly being afraid to challenge hitters. Maybe that's part of it as well. But if it is, he's just gonna have to get over that and start attacking the zone, because there are very, very few pitchers, especially starting pitchers, who can be successful throwing the ball in the zone only about 38, 39, 40% of the time. And certainly Merrill Kelly throwing around 92 miles per hour, he's never been one of those guys, and I don't think he's ever going to be one of those guys either.
Right. By the way, just for our listeners, I want to make sure that the distinction between zone percentage and strike percentage is clear,
Sure.
because strike percentage includes hits. So even if the ball's outside the zone and the guy reached out and hit a dink out into left center field or whatever, like Merrill gave up 7 hits. So of the 53 strikes that he had, 7 of those were actually base hits. Whereas zone percentage is the actual strike zone, the number percentage of pitches that go into the zone.
Yeah, that is a very good point of clarification. Yeah, the number of strikes he threw in that game the other day wasn't that bad. He did get a decent amount of chase outside the zone from Red Sox hitters, but he's just become very reliant on that chase in order to get outs, because he's just not in the zone very often. So that's going to be a key for Merrill Kelly. Hopefully, he's able to turn things around. Diamondbacks very, very much need that from him in order to get where they want to get down the stretch here. Speaking of that, we'll go ahead and look at the standings. The Diamondbacks are 67 and 61. After this win on Wednesday over Boston, they're a game out. The San Diego Padres lost their game to the Mets today. They actually lost that series to the New York Mets. So the Padres cooling off here at least a little bit. Phillies stay red hot. They win another game against the Miami Marlins. They had the sweep over Minnesota over the weekend. They're playing very good baseball right now at 70 and 58. They're now 3 games ahead of the Diamondbacks in that second wild card spot. And then the Chicago Cubs are pretty far out of reach at this point, holding the top wild card spot. Cardinals and Marlins not too far behind the Diamondbacks at 3 games out and 4 games out, respectively. So this just kind of underscores, though, how big of a win this was for the Diamondbacks. If they had lost this game to Boston, they would be 2 games behind the Padres, 4 games behind the Phillies, and only a game in front of the St. Louis Cardinals, who would really be right on their heels at that point.
Yeah. The 531 win percentage for the Padres, that works out to 86 wins. Phillies 547, that's like almost 89, it's 88 point something, close to 89 wins. So, I think that it's going to take at least 88 wins to get in. And that's going to include probably having to take 2 out of 3 the last weekend of the series from the Padres to get in. That's what I think is going to happen. And they may not get that far, right? Like if they may falter and that final weekend may not even matter. But if they're getting in, it's coming down to the final weekend for sure. There's no way that the Diamondbacks are going to clinch a wild card spot before the final 3 games of the season. I just don't see it.
Well, it just wouldn't feel right for the Arizona Diamondbacks to have their postseason fate determined at any point before like September 26th, right? Like it just like we're not supposed to know the answer to that any sooner. So that's the way that they've rolled the past few years. It looks like things are trending that direction this season as well. Pitching matchups this weekend, Jack, the Diamondbacks miss Chase Burns, which is very helpful considering season he's had for Cincinnati. It's looking like it will be Eduardo Rodriguez against Nick Lodolo in the opener on Friday, then Michael Soroka and Rhett Lauder on Saturday, and then Mitch Bratt and Andrew Abbott on Sunday in the finale. D-backs get a lefty here in 2 out of the 3 games, which always seems really big for them. Rhett Lauder, the one right-handed pitcher that they will get in this series, the one right-handed starter that they will get. And you could talk yourself into him being gettable. He has a 5.17 ERA this year. Granted, we've seen the D-backs struggle against those types of right-handed pitchers, but this series lines up pretty well for them.
What type of right-handed pitchers? The guys that throw with their right arm?
Pretty much, yeah. Anyone who throws with their right arm, they've struggled against those guys this year. It's been a problem.
Yeah. It's funny. I was just thinking back a little bit to the Red Sox series and how the D-backs record against teams over 500 improved, but they're going to have to keep beating up on the sub 500 teams now that they've got a few chances here. They can't let what happened to the Rockies happen to them. This is a must-win series, absolutely a must-win series. I'm not going to say must sweep, but they have to win this series. They have look at a certain point. They need to go on a run, again where they're like, 22-10. Like they have to go on a run where they play 7, 8, 10 games above 500, right? I mean, 88 and 74.
22 and 10. I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't mean like they're going to do that the whole time, but 88 and 74, which doesn't even guarantee you getting in, right? That's 14 games above 500. So, they need to get on a run here. They really do. And the schedule stiffens up again right after the Red series. So they need to keep some momentum here this weekend. This is a must-win series.
Yeah, I know their strength of schedule the rest of the way grades out as being fairly favorable, but you look at it and it feels like just a mixed bag. It's like, yes, you've got 3 against Cincinnati, but then you've got 3 against the Cubs, and then you've got 4 against the Giants, but then you've got 3 against the Phillies, who are really hot right now. The Astros after that, they're a good team. Then you've got the Royals, and then you have a couple of teams right in the middle with Texas and Miami. And then the D-backs finish with the Yankees, which is going to be a tough series. Yankees probably will still have something to play for. And then you've got 3 on the road against the Rockies, and then those 3 huge games against San Diego to end the season. So going series by series, it doesn't really feel all that easy to me. It doesn't feel impossible. Like it's not super difficult. There are other teams who have it worse. I know the Phillies in particular, their schedule tightens up in September, but it is going to be a dogfight the rest of the way. No doubt on that front. That is, I guess, everything we have, Jack. Are there any other thoughts or takeaways or topics you wanted to get to here?
I can't wait to see Gino on Friday. Go say hello to him and get some good vibes.
Here we go.
Right there, we got to get some good vibes from Gino. Even though he's in Cincinnati now, at least I'll get some good vibes when I go out and give him a hug.
Yeah, he hasn't been quite the player with Cincinnati this year that we've seen the past couple of years, but he does still have 18 home runs. He has 50 runs batted in. The power's still there, and the good vibes are absolutely still there as well as they always are with Gino. It'd be good to have him back at Chase Field. We're hypothesizing the D-backs will have like a little video montage or something. It feels like that would be appropriate. I know Gino wasn't a Diamondback for very long, but he did hit 66 home runs in the span of like a year and a half, which is sort of wild. So yeah, be good to have Gino Suarez back at Chase Field for sure, and a big series for the Diamondbacks as they continue to try to find their way into one of those NL wildcard spots. Well, thank you to all of you for being with us on this episode. We really appreciate your time. As always, be sure to find us on Twitter. I am at Jesse N. Friedman. Jack is at ShoeWizard59, and our show is at Snakes Territory. Do all the things that I said before. Like and subscribe, and leave a comment, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We always really appreciate that. And we will be back with another episode of Snakes Territory very, very soon.